So now we move to the next part of the session. We have three distinguished panels here. I'm going to introduce each of them, but then we have a presentation by one of the people in the panel, right? So Luis Hernandez is our Managing Director of Waste Management in the island. He has a long-standing record on rural development. He was the director of the Rural Development Agency of the island for many years. And he is an expert on waste management in the island. He knows everything about the waste management in the islands. We have also Rafael Lorenzo, who is an engineer, agronomic engineer, and he is also an expert in water management and many issues about ecological engineering and applications of ecological issues to the industry and to agriculture and so on. He will talk with us later on as an expert as well. And thus we have Nuria Albert. She's PhD in science, and she has a background also in energy management, and she is running a very innovative and potentially fruitful project in the island of La Palma, which is called La Palma Renewable La Palma, is trying to introduce as much as possible renewable energy in La Palma. So this is a very promising project. All the society is becoming enthusiastic with this project, and she is going to talk about the project, how she tries to pursue this objective as a sustainability objective for the island of La Palma to become La Palma a renewable energy society. I must say also that she has been in the European Union. She has been founded by the European Union, and she has been in meetings with the European partners, and she also was last week in a meeting in Spain because La Palma is going to be an example of the application of renewable energies in Europe. So thank you very much, Nuria, for coming to this course, to this program, to the Global Sustainability Fellows program. And we are very happy to work with you because we think we have a lot to learn from you, from your initiative, from your impulse, and it's going to be a very good energy for moving La Palma to sustainability. Thank you very much.
Yeah? Okay. We had the honor of spending our time with Nuria, who we all heard from, so you're familiar with her work. I have 2 pages of summaries, I'm so sorry, but hopefully they'll all be interesting. So first, energy is very complex. Technology, politics, incentives, ecology, citizens, and more. There's so many things that need to be heard and balanced and considered in order to make any progress. If you don't cover them all, you can get shut down very easily, and that's one of the frustrations. 2, there are economic headwinds from the Spanish electricity pricing structure, which encourages the existing company, which is Italian, I believe, the fossil fuel to electricity company, it's a good business making electricity here on the island. So they don't really want to invest or worry about change. So, because they get a fixed cost per kilowatt hour. The Spanish people pay a fixed cost per kilowatt hour regardless of how much it actually costs to make that electricity. So that's a good business for these guys that we need to consider. Renewables pose not only an opportunity to reduce carbon emissions, but also a way to keep the wealth back on La Palma. Right now, all that money is going off to this, independent company. They're looking at ways to do local generation and then distribute it to neighbors and then save money to keep some of this money more on the island versus sending it away. But even if we do that, they have to connect to the grid. So they have to partner with this company whose business they're taking away, which has been some of the challenges. And the problem isn't technology or money that are the blockage. The big blockage is government bureaucracy and the grid manager approvals. And that's where they're getting stuck in terms of actually being able to execute on a lot of these projects. We also talked a little bit about geothermal, great opportunity. One of the biggest challenges is it could take 10 years to be able to, from when you start to get a geothermal plant online, and we don't have 10 years. So we can keep looking at that, but actually looking at these other faster technology options are what the focus is. And we agreed we don't yet have, and we need to create a strategy specific to La Palma. There's a Canary Island one and there's a Spain one, but there's not a specific La Palma strategy for renewable energy transition that takes into account the whole picture, the change in trends in population, the energy demand, the economic transitions, the natural capital, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a big piece that needs to be done, which may get accelerated if the 2030 program can come into place. And finally, La Palma Renovable is, they're an NGO that's become a really important agency to fill a gap in municipal government. The insights that LPR can get from their connections and the learnings, they have great contacts outside of La Palma, and that learnings and knowledging that they're bringing back, as well as working so closely with the people and bringing that in, that whole bank of knowledge and learnings around energy and economics and insight and development and people and is all great insights that they can share, continue to share with the La Palma government. And the power of an individual to stick to it and make things happen and innovate is commendable. So thank you for all your work. And any questions?
Well, it's not individual, we are
a team. There you go, the team. Yes. Great.
I wanted to ask, how did you achieve this community participation? And how can you replicate it in other projects, not only energy but waste, water?
Yeah, it's a work in progress. It's not that we have the perfect community. We're working on that. But also, in the group, I share that in energy, I think it's a good way to create community because it's like the enemy is kind of outside. It's like everyone agrees that we have to go to renewable and that we want the money to stay here. And there are no actors, inside actors that have resistance. The actor that has resistance is the grid owner that's from outside, kind of. So I think this helps.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Questions? Okay. Number two. Number two.
Karen was supposed to join me, but it's all right. You don't have to stand by me. I will represent Group 3, and it was myself with Karen, who I've already mentioned, Cedric and Miriam, and we spoke with Rafa, who many of us have already met once before in this program, talking about water. And so what we were trying to do is expand on an existing subset of the network that we have already made around water use, some of the positive and negative pieces of what's going into water and where it's coming from. But he also gave us a lot of primary data that is now in the drive as well. And one example of that is shown here, and this is actually a water map of the entire island of La Palma. So he's had his team working for a couple days to provide us with a lot of information because many of us remain fairly confused about this. Very, very briefly, the red lines represent the trail that the water is taking. There's blue lines that may be hard for you to see, but they're here, and these are the gallery, the pipes that are cutting into the galleries. The blue dots are wells that are going vertically into the ground, and there's actually, I think it's this one, an artificial lake on La Palma, so we haven't seen that quite yet. Of course, Rafa pointed out that the island is surrounded by water, and so what looks like a water crisis may actually be resolved just by energy through desalination. But we talked about many things, and one of them that is very important that we didn't fully understand before is the water culture here. The mindset of people that, like, I bought this water, I paid for it, it's mine, I'll do whatever I want with it. And so a lot of the water is just going directly into the ocean. We know this. And actually that the system that has enabled the situation today is the high cost of the construction of the galleries. So there are public entities that paid and constructed their own galleries, and so there is public water, as well as the private entities that have done the same thing. And right now it's about 94% that's private and 6% that's public. So we'll get there in just a second. And so there's a lot of emphasis right now on trying to change people's minds that they should use less, conserve more, find a way to reuse it as well, but that the mindset is just really not there. And we've heard similar things, I think, this morning. The view by the public is that in many cases, sometimes the government or the public management is worse or less efficient than by the private companies. And so there's also a dramatic difference at many times in the cost, where public water may cost even like 2 or 3 times the dollar or the euro per volume as the privately produced waters. The efficiency of the water management, we know, is not maximized. Things are being lost along the way. And we're asking about like who's responsible for that, and it's very complicated. It depends on where in the system it's happening, because all of the water is being delivered to a municipality or a town hall, and then distributed to the population of that area. And each one is obtaining their water from different sources, and once it's obtained by them, it's their responsibility to maintain the lines and things like that. We were asking about how connected the different sectors are on La Palma. And so, for example, agriculture plantation owners who generate a lot of money through agriculture are also buying water rights. So they're what we're calling as the water owners. And so there's definitely a direct interplay in terms of the policy and the practices between the agriculture sector and the water sector. And then there's not a monopoly on water, so don't think of it as like one person, one family, because as I mentioned, people can buy into that. But it's not transparent, it's not public who owns that or who owns how much of that, unless you're inside the group. And lastly, we were talking about the long-term sustainability, if you will, of this, and we know that it's not sustainable based on the carrying capacity and the use, but in sort of economic terms, the number of salty galleries that are getting more salty from the groundwater and the salt water from the ocean, and the number of dry galleries, these things can actually like expire and then you have to go lower on the mountain to get water, is increasing. And so like right now there's 165 gallery intakes, 70 of them are active, so 42% of total, and only a few of them are able to be activated but currently closed by like a double barrier system. So there is, I think, like an understanding of that this isn't going to be the long-term solution, but for right now it's like, well, there's water and we don't know what the percentage is of the aquifer that's been tapped, and so there's some more questions there. Group, yes? Again, these are sort of filling in pieces of the existing model that we didn't know about, so I didn't want to cover the whole model, but we have that as well. Any questions?
How does, if there are all these like shares and water stocks, etc., is there a price control mechanism? Does it, or is the price stable for all the islanders? Does it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it was sort of different in different regions of the island, and that the public water is controlled and the private is sort of different, but...
Yes, we have one fixed price for the public water, but not for the private water. It's different price in different areas. It's the offer and demand situation. For example, here in the valley, we have a high demand because we have a lot of surface of bananas crops, and we don't have supplies. Here, the water is very expensive in this area. Maybe in the north of the island, we have more supply of water, and the price is lower. Okay.
But does it change from month to month, or is it stable for the year? Is it stable for 5 years?
It's complex because the supply possibilities the sources are different. Okay. Usually, when the water comes from the galleries, okay, if you buy water from the galleries, you rent per 1 year is the usual. You have fixed price all the year, okay, and you have one amount of water, one volume. You have a constant flow of water, okay. You have maybe 2 liters per minute, and you rent 2 liters per minute during 1 year, okay, 24 hours, okay, and this flow goes to your finca, for example, for the irrigation of the bananas. Yes, this is one way. Other way, if I am an owner of one well, of one percentage of the well, and I have water enough for my plantation, I can sell you my water, my part of my water, okay? And I sell you one volume, maybe 1,000 cubic meters, and you pay me for this. Yes.
Like a water credit system almost.
Yes.
And just to build on that, what is the approximate price difference between public and private water?
Yes, the price of the public water is 25 cents per cubic meter. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yes, the private is the difference is very high. The
Approximate.
expensive, the more expensive, is 65 cents
Oh,
per
wow.
cubic meter, and more during the summer. Maybe if you don't have enough water and the offer is very low, you pay more. Yes, it's really
like
complicated for
100% more.
some people. But here we have one very good. A lot of farmers has the right of water, have water in property. Okay, a lot of not everybody, but yes, a lot.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
What's the prices of water in Europe?
In Europe, I don't know.
In Spain?
I don't know. Each city is.
The reason I'm asking, because basically you are exporting water to Europe with the banana.
Okay. Yes. But for 1 kilo of bananas, we need 200 liters of water to produce 1 kilogram. Yes, it's the same that 1 person, 1 kilo is the life of 1 person. Is to.
I think from the long-term perspective on water needs of the island, it's very important to reassess whether exporting bananas is the right thing.
Yes.
But I had another comment to make, which is very interesting. If I understand it correctly, from what we heard, there is a conflict between water owners, like the large plantations, and small farmers, like the guy with his permaculture farm and so forth. And if what we heard from Naomi, that 60% of the water is wasted, then there is enough there to make everybody happy. In other words, you don't have to create a revolution in transferring right from one to the other. You can say you can keep your rights and still be happy. If we can get the other 60% somehow not wasted, then there'll be enough for everyone just on that level.
Yes. Here in the agriculture, we have we lost the 25% of the water in the transportation. Okay, then in the use of the water of the finca, more. Okay, and in the public system to drink, the water for drink, maybe 40% is the average in the network of the town halls. Yes, it's very important.
Perhaps something to add there, Rafa, is what you mentioned before in the previous session we had with you, that perhaps there are a lot of efficiency improvements that we can do. However, you mentioned that the 30% of the water reservoir decreased the last 5 years, right? And that decrease increases the saline infiltration that reduces the water availability. So what's dangerous, perhaps, there are like two sides, right? What can we improve with the infrastructure, and the other, the risk because of climate change and other type of exploitation. So it's not for sure that doing those improvements will secure the water for the next years, right?
Yes, it's a problem, and we have. I told with the group that the avocado plantation in La Palma is growing a lot. From 2017 to now, yes, it increased close to 50% of the surface and demand a lot of water. More water is less than the bananas crop, but okay. And we have one pressure in that. Yes, we need, what was interesting, Cedric said, is this a problem of water or a problem of mindset? Yes, we need to change our mindset, our policy with the water to the use of the water. Yes, because if we do more efficient infrastructure, more efficient application in the soil, but we increase the surface, we increase the demand, we continue in the same. Okay. Yes, I was talking with Nuria, yes, that the horizon will be, and with Luis, that the horizon will be that in some years, in a middle term, okay, we lose the 40% of the precipitation, the rain, okay. We are now in this horizon from 2015 to now, we lost more than 30% in precipitation in the rain, okay. We are now in the future, we are living the climate change or or something similar. Okay, I don't know if this will be back to the range that we had before, but the situation is hard. We are in a sequía, no sé cómo es, drought, for 9 years in Canary Islands in general, in La Palma. It's a long term. It's a lot of years. The before was 5 years, and then continue raining, but no 9 years in the historics numbers that we have. Okay.
And can you just let me know that perhaps it will be important to translate for this?
Okay.
So perhaps for our next presentation we can start doing it. Perdón Luis que no lo teníamos en mente la traducción, lo vamos a hacer a partir de la siguiente presentación.
Thank you. Group 4.
Well, hello. We had our meet with Luis, and we will have to do the traduction, the translation. Okay. Well, thank you, Luis, for your time. Like, your knowledge is going to be really useful. Like, this man is an encyclopedia. And well, by our talk, we got like this main points that we could like abstract from the conversation. Nada, Luis, básicamente lo que he dicho es que...
No, sí, continúa.
¿Sí? ¿Sigo en inglés?
Sí.
Okay, when the first point is that the implementation of measures to improve the waste management, such as door-to-door collection, this type of door-to-door collection is that the people put their bag of selected waste in the door, and in determined days, they pick it up, and it's being used, and the composting could reduce the volume of waste and improve its management. So if we do this kind of things, we'll reduce the volume that now is going to the landfills, because here all the waste that we have is going to landfills, or is going to the mainline or to other islands to be recycled. Also, it's talked about that the separation of organic waste could reduce the volume of waste and reuse in agriculture. We also been speaking a lot of this, that the composting could be a way of cycle the use of waste and put it in the agriculture. Also, we had this idea that is, I think in the mainland they're trying to use it, like to do a prohibition or at least a tax to the single-use waste, that this could reduce the environmental impact. The single-use waste is a big part of our bag, and reducing this type of waste that normally is plastic, it will be a big difference in a sustainable way of management the waste. Also, we talked about the increase in taxes on mixed waste could incentivize separation and recycling. This is a thing that is doing in Europe and it's being well used, está continuando, yeah. And maybe it could, we could do it here. But also a big thing is that community and collaboration is a really important thing. Like if the people are informed and are conscious of separating, that separating also could reduce their tax on management waste, then they will do it and it will be better. Also, the industry should incentivize to reduce and recycle instead of burning. This thing could do the circular economy, no? Instead of burning, and if we recycle, we tend to do a more circular economy. And also, it's really important that the hotels, in this case, we don't have as much, but the industry or the agriculture takes should manage their own waste. if we make them responsible of their own waste, like it will be an encourage for sustainability, and also they could say that they're sustainable and do greenwashing. And a really important fact that we talked on the meet, it was that organic waste makes up 40% of the garbage we have, and it's really easy to recycle and provide the most benefit of it. So this is what we talked about, and really thank you to Luis.
Do you think it's necessary a translation to it? Would you like to know what is there? Or
No, entiendo.
Okay, perfect. So perhaps, I don't know if there's an additional comment or questions, or if you, Rafa, Nuria, Luis, have something to share about all the ideas expressed so far.
Help us with the challenges.
Help us with the challenge. I have a question for the waste management expert. Firstly, how much waste is produced on this island?
So,
And
for the waste,
¿Cuánto se produce de residuos en la isla?
Aproximadamente 30.000 toneladas al año.
30,000 tons every year.
30,000 tons, okay, 30 million kilograms.
Yeah.
Okay, and what do you think is the best technologies to manage the waste on the island? Like 40% is organic. Do you think there's potential for biogas, or is it better to compost? What is the suggestion?
Tenerlo allí, ¿no? Bueno, en el caso de la orgánica, que es el problema es que de momento separamos muy poca cantidad, recogemos muy poca cantidad de materia orgánica, pero posiblemente sería el residuo que mejor podemos gestionar en la isla, porque la industria, el procesado que lleva la materia orgánica es muy sencillo. De hecho ya se está haciendo, pero necesitamos recoger más cantidad separada de orgánica. El resto de materiales se tienen que enviar fuera de la isla porque no hay industria local para transformarlo. Entonces, actualmente el sistema de gestión de residuos consiste básicamente en separar lo más que se pueda y para enviar materiales fuera, pero es muy poco lo que se envía comparado con la cantidad de basura que se entierra.
Translation.
Ahora.
I remember some of the studies. So he was saying that there's not enough organic waste. Yeah, I just thought that. Want to see? Yeah, he's saying that there's not enough volume for it to make it like something like a viable option. But it's the portion of the waste that is more actionable here in the islands, because for the other types, they have to take them to separate as much as they can and take it to other islands because they don't have the capabilities in-house to manage that. So it's the most actionable, like what you can actually have an impact locally, because the rest is just separation and moving away.
So what is his recommendation for the infrastructure? Like biogas, you said is not possible because the volume is not enough. So he suggests composting is the way to go? Or?
Yeah.
I can answer because I was on the group as well. Well, it actually, organic waste is up to 40% of the garbage, so there is volume. The problem is that there is no efficiency in collecting and separating this portion out of the garbage. So there has to be an encouragement to separate the organic waste. And they are already working on composting and community composting, and that's a project that is ongoing. They just need to achieve this section to have it separated. And then on regards to other recycling, yeah, it doesn't happen inland. It has to be exported. And if what we've been discussing is that actually it's more expensive to do that than to bury it, so most of it goes to landfill. even after being selected, after being classified and separated, most of the time it's still going to landfill because of the price disadvantage, the cost disadvantage.
And can I ask another
Yeah, of course.
The previous speaker spoke about EPR.
One second.
Do we need to?
Yes, it's for the recording.
Okay. The previous speaker spoke about EPR, which is Extended Producer Responsibility. Is that something that's already being shaped up? Like the people who are selling products on the island pay a certain fee for waste management, extended producer. Is there any exploration around that?
Necesito traducción. ¿Qué he dicho?
No, estaba hablando de como el impuesto de responsabilidad. Por ejemplo, quien vende el producto que contiene el producto a reciclar, que sea él el responsable de encargarse de ese reciclaje.
Sí, pero vamos, esos son los sistemas colectivos de responsabilidad ampliada del productor, los scrap. Ya existen para muchos productos, solo que la mayoría no son eficientes. Pagan la recogida, pero no el reciclado.
He's saying that they exist, but they are not efficient, and that they pay enough just for the collection, but not for the recycling. That is actually the expensive part because it involves the shipping of the things to be recycled.
I have a question. I know that this wasn't specifically a topic that you all covered, but it somehow belongs to what we call the material domain, that are the available resources and the way, the island has this potential. We explored this when we were visiting Cañas de Fuego, and we saw all the lava. So I was wondering, and this is perhaps a very, not random, but an outside question about what we have talked today. Is the lava itself considered somehow a resource for you? Because we saw that the use currently is for the construction, some of it, but it's a lot of material, right? And what we found in that visit to several places in the island is that one person that is doing agroecological banana production pulverized a very big rock and is using it to produce fertile soil. So fertile soil is something that is tierra fértil. So that is something that is kind of lacking in many places of the world, like tierra fértil, fertile soil, and there's a specific way of using it to improve crops production. That person that showed the example in Platanológico, for instance, he doesn't use any fertilizer or any other material, and is also not polluting the water used in that agricultural activity. So I was wondering if you see ashes, for instance, are very natural to use in permaculture projects. So I was wondering, and we also saw that there may be other medical uses for that material. Perhaps it's not related to your topic of expertise, but I wanted to know if, not the whole thing, but if you have thought or heard ideas about how to use that material that is full of minerals and that was inside the earth for millions of years now, and now is there on the landscape.
Yes, I don't know if I understand you good, but you said that, yes.
Decir en español para Luis y a lo mejor sí es, porque fuimos a visitar Platanológico y vimos que está la lava, toda la lava en diferentes partes del camino, y nos contaron que lo usan naturalmente en construcción, ¿no? Construcción de carreteras o incluso algunas viviendas. Y ese mismo día fuimos a visitar un lugar de producción agroecológica y la persona que maneja ese lugar nos contó que justamente pulverizando una roca, ¿no?, de lava, él podía tener nutrientes, los nutrientes necesarios para su producción y que era muy eficiente. Lo mismo que la ceniza. Entonces, la pregunta es si ustedes han evaluado como algún tipo de uso potencial de este material en otros sectores. También investigando un poco, ese es material que estaba por mucho tiempo dentro de la tierra y está lleno de minerales que pueden ser utilizados en diferentes tipos de usos, ya sean médicos o de diferente tipo, ¿no? Entonces, si han escuchado alguna propuesta similar o si esto parece así como algo sin sentido que no se utiliza, ¿no?
Maybe as a fertilizer, I can answer you. Okay. Yes, the rocks directly the basalto, is the rocks from the volcano, are not a fertilizer. Yes, are not. Isn't a fertilizer. Okay. But maybe the sand. Okay, ceniza is called here. The small sand. Yes, mixture with clay soil. Improve because create a new structure because it's easy to develop the roots in the soil. Okay, in the Universidad de La Laguna they did one experimental experimental test with 30% of sand from the volcano and 70% of soil, common soil for agriculture. And they say so that the conclusion was that it will be okay for the agriculture because in the beginning there was in the idea if the fincas affected by the volcano who have a lot of sand, no lava, sand. Okay. Yes. Okay. These fincas must take the sand and put off the finca to continue with the crops, or no, incorporate to the soil, and they finally decided the most of them include keep the sand, the volcano sand, into the soil, and it's not bad for the crops. But it's not fertilizer because it's difficult to degrade this material. Okay, it needs time, acids. Yes. It's not a source of nutrients for the plants. Maybe small micronutrients, yes, micro, but not the macronutrients. Nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. No.
He showed a way of doing that, and it is not fertilizer, but he said that doing it in that way, he was avoiding the use of fertilizers, pesticides, and polluting water. This is what he showed in his practice. So, yeah.
Yes, I don't know how the test, okay? And I am agricultural engineer, but I am working more in the works, okay, in the construction, okay? Yes, other application is the mulching, you know? Is put as on the surface this sand, and it keeps the humidity in the soil, okay? It avoid the evaporation, okay? It avoid the evaporation directly from the soil and keep the water, okay? It's other uses. For example, in Tenerife, another island, no? They have enarenados, is the name in Spanish, is sand crops, okay? They have the soil down and up, cover of sand to keep the humidity, okay? In several areas in the south of Tenerife, for example, and it's used for years and years, for decades, okay?
It's obviously also used in construction.
Yes, we are using now in construction for the rods, and it's very good for rock and create different, for example, gravel for the concrete. It's okay. Several institutes in Spain did tests to prove for the concrete, and it's perfect. Okay. In La Palma, we don't have a very big problem with the material for the construction, okay? For the rocks or sand, we don't have a big problem. Why? Because our construction industry is poor, okay? It's not very, we don't have a very big investment in construction, new buildings. But in Tenerife, for example, yes, they have a lot of the problems. They, for example, one partner of mine in the university did the thesis or master thesis, analyzing the possibility to transport sand from the Sahara to Tenerife to the construction because the price of the sand for the construction was very high, and several of them are studying now the possibility to take sand from the volcano and go to other islands. The problem now is that the law, because for the moment we can do this activity in the volcano, new areas occupied by the volcano. The regulation, I don't know in the future.
De todas maneras, la arena acumulada que se ha recogido de carreteras y demás, está previsto que se ponga a la venta. Sí, ya el Cabildo está trabajando en establecer un precio por el metro cúbico de ese material para poder venderlo.
Okay.
Porque es un material público, o sea, no tiene dueño.
Claro. Okay.
But to the extent that the ash is very rich in minerals, the question is whether there are more exotic potential uses, I think, like in cosmetics or whatever. No?
I don't know, but I don't know about that. But it's not very rich in minerals that could be taken by the plants directly, by the plants. It's not the possibility because need a complex process. We have soil in Canary Islands. We have a volcano area. All the Canary Islands are volcano structure. The formation of the soil, the creation of new soil is a process very, very long. Okay, we need thousands of years to transform one ashes, sand, rocks into soil to keep the capacity to crop. Okay, they're using cosmetics and I don't know, maybe for exfoliation, I don't know, the physical treatment, but.
Okay. Is there any other question or comment? We thank you a lot for your time and all the learning provided. ¿Hay algún otro comentario? We close the session then. Thank you so much for your silence.